War memorials are dedicated to honor those special individuals who gave their lives in service to their country. Such is the case with Father William Davitt, who at one time served as the assistant pastor at St. Anne's Parish in Lenox. Father Davitt left a quiet life in the Berkshires to serve as a chaplain on the front lines of World War I. Steve Kiltonic has the story now of a courageous priest who was recently recognized and honored for his heroic actions on the battlefields of Europe.
Over there, send the word, over there.
When it began in 1914, World War I was thought to be the war to end all wars. It raged on for 3 long years before America finally entered the conflict. At the time, there was a tremendous push for patriotism to make the world safe for democracy. And for the first time, chaplains from various faiths served alongside American troops on the battlefields of Europe. The Knights of Columbus recruited priests, and Father William F. Davitt of St. Anne Parish in Lenox was one such priest who served over there.
When the opportunity came for the war and to become a KSC chaplain, he was a natural. These were the guys they were looking for. Young, in great shape, and of course, dedicated.
Stephen Jendryzik is a retired Chicopee teacher and local historian. He has written many books and articles on the history of Chicopee and is president of the Chicopee Historical Society. Born in Holyoke to immigrant French-Canadian parents, young Bill Davitt grew up in the Willimantic section of Chicopee and attended parochial schools in Holyoke.
He was a star basketball player as a youth. He was a tremendous track star. The family was very proud of his trophies.
Davitt played football for 3 years at Chicopee High. After graduating in 1903, he went on to Holy Cross College, where he played football another 3 years. He captained the team his senior year. But Davitt gravitated toward the priesthood. In 1911, he was ordained in Montreal. His first assignment was at St. John's in Worcester.
He became the chaplain for the Lyman School for Boys, which was at that time the biggest reform school in Massachusetts. And the conditions there were not the best, and he became an advocate for these young men.
In 1915, Father Davitt was reassigned to St. Anne Parish in Lenox, where he became assistant pastor. But in 1917, Father Davitt decided to do God's work in another way as a Knights of Columbus chaplain in the U.S. Army.
He must have prayed and thought long and hard over this, to leave the bucolic Berkshires and to go to Texas and then go to Europe by boat, obviously, and then to be on the battlefields of Europe. He must have been a man of tremendous courage and conviction.
Those young men who were the KSC chaplains, they were trailblazers, historic trailblazers, because they had never before had the military accepted.
In February 1918, First Lieutenant Davitt shipped out with the 125th Infantry of the 32nd Division of the American Expeditionary Force, bound for France. On August 6th, the 125th was in action along the Vesle River when Father Davitt learned that 40 wounded Americans were cut off in a ravine.
He got them out. He led them out under a hail of bullets, right? Extraordinary. It got him the Distinguished Service Cross from the Americans, but the Croix de Guerre, of course, is an extraordinary award to an American, never mind an American chaplain, to get the Croix de Guerre for bravery.
On November 11th, 1918, the end of the war was imminent. Father Davitt left the safe confines far from the action to bring an American flag to the division commander at the front. It was to be raised during a ceremony marking the end of hostilities.
Father was crossing the actual parade ground with the flag when he was struck by shrapnel, 1 hour and 15 minutes before the armistice. He was the last American officer to be killed in the First World War.
The next morning, Father Davitt was buried in France at services attended by the entire regiment. In 1919, a bronze tablet memorializing Lieutenant Davitt and his distinguished service was installed in the vestibule of St. Anne's Church, where it remains today. In 1921, the VFW Post 62 in Chicopee was named after Father Davitt. And in 1931, a new $200,000 concrete and steel bridge spanning the Chicopee River was dedicated to the hero priest. When the William F. Davitt Memorial Bridge was first dedicated on Armistice Day 1931, nearly 25,000 people turned out for the event. According to Jen Dryzik, it was one of the largest parades in the city's history.
We were a city of a very ethnic city, Irish, Polish, and French. And of course, each of these units had marching groups. And they were spectacular. They had spectacular uniforms. They represented the churches.
Last November 11th, Veterans Day, a ceremony was held in a rededication of the bridge after it was rebuilt for $7 million. Many veterans groups turned out to pay tribute to Davitt. Father Wojtakis, who delivered the opening prayer and benediction, led a Berkshire delegation, which included members of the Lenox Knights of Columbus, Chapter 212, and the Lenox VFW. Also at this ceremony was Father Davitt's great-niece, retired Air Force Colonel Robin Davitt. She attended with other members of the Davitt family.
It just gave me goosebumps to see all these people who are so interested in him and in history and the Davitt family and Father Davitt. I have a very special place in my heart for military chaplains as a result of my great-uncle.
Father Davitt's original citation and Croix de Guerre medal from 1918 are on display at the VFW Post 62 Hall in Chicopee. In 1921, Father Davitt's remains were brought back to Holyoke, the city of his birth. His final resting place is in Calvary Cemetery with other members of his family. Here, Father William F. Davitt is forever remembered as a lover of humanity, a brave soldier priest, beloved by all who knew him. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.